Hey folks, welcome to Look Back. This is where I go back a year, 5 years, and 10 years, look at the reviews I do during that period of time, and tell you what I think of those games today. So let's go back a year. In 2016, this week, I took a look at Urbis, which is a tile-laying city kind of game where you're putting tiles in, which sounds like a really fun game, but the tiles were super random. There was like take that stuff. It was just a big mess of a game, unfortunately. Also, I believe it was pixelated for no reason. Iron League Junior, this one sounded cool. Big giant robots that are coming and fighting each other. And I believe they just kickstarted the adult version. The adult version might be better, but the kid version was essentially very light rules. Just it had cool, big giant mechs and pretty much no game. Dragon Valley, this is a kid's game where you're using 2 sticks and holding something together and moving it. You know, these gimmicky type games, this is one from Queen, they often go over pretty well with my kids. This one did not for some reason, and I don't know, it just was kind of a one-trick pony, which many of these games are, but this one wasn't that fun. It was also very difficult. Apollo 13 I did not like either. This is about the Apollo 13 and problems that they had in the mission, and they got it fixed and stuff. It's very an interesting story, but it's very, very linear. Everything goes forward, and then you're just kind of hoping that the luck comes through, the cards come through for the right situation. It's an interesting idea for a cooperative game, but really fell flat in execution. Jason and I, a year ago, took a look at Elfin Roads, or Elfin Lands. Elfin Roads is a reprint of Elfin Lands, which is a pretty interesting game. I loved it a lot more when I first played it. It's come down in the years where you're going around and picking things up. It's slightly a little more fiddly than it needs to be, but it's still pretty fun to travel on pigs and dragons and such to get different places. Emoji cards is pretty much what you would think it to be. There's different emojis out there, and you're using those to get people to guess clues. Works well, pretty solid. It is what it is. Although, incidentally, I still don't think this one's on Board Game Geek yet. Green, the golf game. This is a little card game about golfing. I went into this expecting not to like it at all, and it actually simulated a card game of golf pretty well. I think it works best with 2 players. That was pretty fun. Then Think Straight. Now this one, if you notice, the rating is 6.5. It is a low rating than it should be. I'd probably give this one an 8 or 9 because the components are that bad. This is a great deduction game, and it's really thinky as you're trying to figure out what's in front of you. I love the concept, but the cards are paper thin. The whole thing is just a mess production-wise, but really a great deduction game. Very thinky. I also took a look at the Catan Traveler game. It's mini Catan. That's pretty much that. Xenoshift expansions, they add more monsters and more cards that you can buy, and that's pretty much that. And then Last Spike. Now this one is another one that kind of caught me off guard because it doesn't look like much. This game from Columbia Games is what it is, but it's like a little light stock market game as you're connecting the trains to each other, and as you put these out, there's a possibility you'll go through cities, and you've invested in those cities, so you're going to get more if it goes through those cities. Some cities are definitely going through. Other cities may or may not have connections made through them. I love that concept that the game has a little bit of a choir feeling to it, so pretty cool. 5 years ago, I took a look at Dracco. I took a look at this with Melody. This was like a 2-player game. One person had a dragon. The other person had some dwarves that fought the dragon. Asymmetrical, fairly light, but pretty cool. Although forgettable because I had to look it up again. Giza the Great Pyramid. Now this was an interesting game. This one physically looks really cool. You have these big pyramid pieces that you're sliding across and then forming and building the pyramid and getting points for that. Game-wise, it was a decent, Euro-style game, but that actual physical component of this game was really well done. World Conquerors. This is a Risk-ish style game. Not really Risk. This one's done by Jeff Siadek, and each time you have a different leader, and the leader gives you special abilities, and you're interacting with them. It's like a short, fancy game of Risk. I don't know how else to explain it. Watch the full review for that one. I don't know that everyone needs to own this game, but it's certainly one that's worth playing if you see it. It doesn't look like much, but it was pretty neat. Cavemen Curling. This is a flicking game, to mimic the game of curling if it was done in cavemen times. It works well. You're shooting these discs across the board. I liked it. Defenders of the Realm Heroes. Defenders of the Realm is a great game, great cooperative game. I took a look at all the different heroes 5 years ago. More heroes is always a good thing. and Thunderstone Advance. Can you believe I was talking about this 5 years ago? I really love Thunderstone Advance. You'll notice my rating has dropped slightly for that, and that's not a bad thing. It's, for me personally, I have 10 games that are my top 10 favorite games, and those games all get rankings of 10. 5 years ago, Thunderstone was in my top 10 games. It's still my top 50 games. I still think it's fantastic, but that is why you see the drop in rating. I only reviewed one game 10 years ago this week, and that was Il Principe, which was a game about Renaissance and putting nobles out, and it's so forgettable. In fact, my review, I said, this is, this theme. It was one of the first times I was like, come on, what's with the same Renaissance theme over and over again? And because of that, I look at it now. Nowadays, I would give this game not a much lower, but a lower review because it doesn't add anything new to it, and I just haven't even really thought about it for 10 years. So that's the look back, folks. Those are the reviews I did years ago. I'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been The Dice Tower.